Hello family, friends, followers, and guests. Hopefully I can do this in just a few minutes. I've spent the last 4 years in a state of almost disbelief on the way what we call the right or the conservatives have attempted to negotiate with the left. And it's been the same for probably 40 or 50 years in my life. One of the fundamental flaws of the conservatives is that they believe in the rule of law and expect the other side to follow it. Not true. So we have observed 4 years of lying through the media and the control of the media over the narrative, the Schiff, Schuler, Pelosi lies, almost daily blatant lies, saying Trump's guilty of this, Trump's guilty of that, when as a matter of guilt in the world of crimes, he can't be guilty unless he's brought to trial and found guilty by a jury of his peers. Now we have the impeachment trial coming up, and they can only impeach a sitting president, but they're going to go through that for the politics. And part of the reason why they need to do that right now is bumbling Joe, do-nothing Joe, has in fact bumbled and done nothing for the first few days he's in office. And he's in the process of putting the country at risk. And even if you're a blinded Democrat, if you step back and you look at the actual facts and the evidence of what's going on, you can see it. So the historical aspect of the conservative, the Republicans, has been an emphasis on the Republic, the Constitution, and the rule of law. And it's really clear that the D's won't follow that. They'll change that when they can and they have the power to do so. And each time they've done that historically, without going into the details of it, they have eventually turned around and bit themselves in the butt. It's not as bad as what it might seem to most, because one of the ways that the president really has a lot of power is in appointing people to the Supreme Court. And Trump did that, and there was this thought and this flavor, we will get back to the rule of law. And the Republicans were all hyped up. It was like the banana had been shoved up so far up their butts that they liked the taste of it. So here we are today. And now, with the Dems in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, the conservatives, the Republicans, lose. In the world of negotiations, I happen to be a little bit better than good at it. In the world of negotiations, when you start from the middle, you lose. So here is a list, metaphorically a list, of everything that the D's want and everything that the R's want. Now let's treat this the way the reality has been, not for the last 4 years, but for the last about 24 years. We have this list, and the R's let the D's do this. Now all we have left is mostly the D's list. And then there we start negotiating. And if we negotiate to the middle point, that's what we're left up with. When we should have started insisting on and demanding the whole pie. Less is less. Trump has taught us a lesson for those that are willing to learn, and my hope would be that the D's would step up to the plate on this. But the lesson is really simple and straightforward. You got to be ready to walk away from the negotiation. What happens if you walk away? and it is that the status quo remains the same and nobody's worse off. Trump started negotiating. It was fun to watch. I've worked for a multi-billionaire. I had a responsible position in his corporation. And at every moment, my billionaire, who had more money and has more money than Trump had, at every moment that he was visible to the public, he was negotiating. So there it is. And Trump was the same thing right from the very start. He said something that's really important. You have to be able to walk away from the deal. Get up and leave. The perception of power is power in negotiation until it's ultimately tested. And the ultimate test is, out the window, buddy. We're not negotiating, and walk away. And Trump exercised that many times. He exercised it within the GOP. He exercised it actually in his family affairs. He exercised it for and behalf of our nation, using other nations as tools to make his point. And he did a lot of what are really great things for us as Americans. We are not the world police. We are not the social conscience of the world. And Trump recognized that. And what he did is he put the power package together to protect us, you and me. A lot of people didn't like him for a lot of different reasons. But the D's had no problem with Bill Clinton while he's getting a blowjob on the whatever that device is on the floor in the Oval Office. And a guy who will sell out his most sacred of vows, from my perspective, will sell out anything. They had no problem with Hillary Clinton lying repeatedly, with the felonies that she's admitted to, not as felonies, but as a matter of fact. They had no problem with Biden and his quid pro quo, although they claimed that of Trump. They couldn't prove it, and there's a reason why they couldn't prove it. He didn't engage in it. So here we are negotiating. And now we're negotiating without the power of the House, without the power of the Senate, without the power of the presidency. And what should be clear to every one of you right now is without the power of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court could have stepped up to the plate. How much fraud is acceptable? There's no question there was fraud. Almost everybody, D's and R's, admits it when they're pressed. Yeah, there is some fraud, but not enough to make a difference. So if there's some fraud, how much makes a difference? And it depends on your personal sense of integrity and where you're coming from. A little bit is okay. Wrong. Nothing's okay. If a little bit's okay, then there's no place to draw the line. Throw the whole thing to the winds. You have the selling of the country. Bill and Hillary Clinton. The foundation. Yeah, right. You have Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, and the selling of political favors. Yeah, right. And because the D's are now in control of everything, most probably there will be nothing more done on any of that. There could be, but at a personal level, I doubt it. So how do we negotiate? The question is, how do we negotiate with the D's as a conservative group? And the answer is, we now have reduced the pie to this, and this is what we're left with today. And the D's say, because we're in power, we'll let you have this maybe. It'll swing. The history teaches us it'll swing, and the day will come when it comes around and it bites them in the butt. And the D's will be saying, we'll give you this much power, and the people will rise up because of all the crap that's going on, and we'll wind up with this much power. Unfortunately, the reality is I probably won't see it in my lifetime. But I'm starting that process myself. And if Facebook kicks me off, then we got the Single Finger Forum. Single Finger Forum. I didn't realize I was doing a tongue twister. So there's where it's at. What'll happen is a lot of people like me will do what I am doing and have been doing. And the D's who, or not the D's, but technology, who thinks they have this much power right now, half of us, about 80 million of us, are going to leave. And they only really have this much power. And when that happens and they take the financial hit and other people start getting finances, the other half of that power piece is going to fall back into the hands of the R's, just like historically it's done over the years. So those people who are riding that wave today are in fact riding that wave today. I won't see it in my lifetime, and many of you won't see it in your lifetime, but that's going to change. And if you look at history over a 200-year cycle, you'll see it happening in country after country. And I say 200 because that's the common length of time for the pendulum to swing. And we're past that here. So it's not uncommon to look at and expect some form of change. So one other point about power. The perception of power in the negotiation. And now we have this piece of pie, and it is half of it. You don't have to give it up. Just say, I'm keeping it. The rest of you, do whatever you want. I'm walking away. And when you have destroyed everything, I'll still have this, and you'll have nothing. And let's see where we go from there. That's a hard pill to swallow because it impacts us personally. It impacts our families, our posterity. It takes time for these things to happen. What I don't have to be is I don't have to be nice to anybody. That's a fallacy. And in the world of political negotiations, the kind of crap that's going on here now, if some D's got his head up his ass and he thinks the world looks rosy brown because they're in power today, I know it will change. Because I can look back through history, a few hundred years, several hundred years, thousands of years, and you see the swing. And it goes back and forth, and it will change. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans, including a lot of D's, are going to suffer with what's coming right now. But so be it. Don't kiss their butts. Don't give away half the pie in the initial discussions and then negotiate the other half. Screw them. Let them fight for every piece of it they get, because every bit of fight they have to do over time will count up against them. It will weigh against them, and the pendulum will swing. I like to close these kinds of discussions with this. Remember Ashley Babbitt. In modern times, she's our first warrior victim of the new Civil War. And if you don't think we're in one, and you are a conservative, then you are crazy. I hope and pray 2021 can be better for all of us. The Lord can do what He will. The reality is, because of the way history works, I don't expect it to be better. And I said bitter there, I meant better, but when I think about it, I think it'll probably be a lot more bitter before the end of 2021. With that little bit of negative, there's a lot of positive that we can have and enjoy out of life, rolling with the punches, doing what we can for our families, our neighbors, our loved ones, and keeping a bit of common sense about us. I hope all of you can have a lot better 2021 than what we've had with the lying, cheating, low-life, scum-sucking things that have gone on in politics for the last 4 years, wasting hundreds of millions and billions of our dollars in politics. And remember this about a politician. By definition, they are liars. Did we have any statesmen? Maybe. Maybe. And if we did have a statesman, it was Trump. Maybe Trey Gowdy. I like the guy. I understand the law a little bit, and when he talked, he was like Croftheimer. He's got intelligence. It's fun to listen to it. I ramble. I need to close. You all take care. Another day. We'll see how things go for a while. I have my own fights to fight. Unfortunately, some of them I'm not going to win in time. You all take care.